Hi guys! How are you today? Welcome back to my channel, Adventures in America. If you're new to my channel, my name is Jocelyn and I'm a dual citizen of the United States and the Philippines. There are actually a lot of updates regarding domestic travel rules in the Philippines, and this is also applicable for those international passengers who have domestic connecting flights. I realize that there are a lot of Filipinos or non-Filipinos who haven't been in the Philippines in such a long time. Please remember that rules can change anytime, and these travel restrictions are based on the latest resolution of the Interagency Task Force, which provides the travel health protocols for international or domestic travelers. There is actually an app for domestic travel in the Philippines, and this is the SPASS.ph. It is important that you know your last place or destination, or the city or the town or the province or the local government unit where you intend to travel. It's also important that you have a local Philippine phone number to use this app. Otherwise, you won't be able to log in or create your account without a Philippine phone number. So here's an example of the SPASS. You're going to need your Philippine phone number. And here we can see, for example, there is a questionnaire. Are you an APOR? Answer no. Are you an ECQ or MECQ? Answer no. And you can pick out your current location. Let's say, for example, you're from Las Piñas. I'm from Las Piñas and I'm planning to go to Pagudpud, Ilocos Norte. So let's see the travel requirements. So this is just an example. It says here you need to apply for a travel coordination permit. And there's a lot of information that you can find here regarding the health protocol requirements. If I scroll down more, it says no quarantine is required if you have testing, and also if you're returning overseas Filipino, there are also requirements. And you can see here as I scroll down, there are also other information for if you have other purposes for your travel. RT-PCR saliva test is accepted as a replacement for an antigen test, but not as a replacement for an RT-PCR test. And also, residents of Ilocos Norte are entitled to subsidized antigen test. There are also other information here, so make sure that you bring all the documents or the requirements upon entry. Also, SPASS TCP applicants are encouraged to file their application at least 48 hours before arriving. There are also other factors that can affect your right to travel in the Philippines. But first of all, let's understand the different eligible passengers or those who are allowed to travel domestically. There are different categories of passengers, and the type of passenger will determine what documents you needed to present or if you are able to travel. If you are a returning overseas Filipino or considered as OFW or overseas Filipino worker or other repatriated overseas Filipinos, the minimum documents that you needed to present are first, identification card, second, a negative RT-PCR test, and third, certificate of quarantine. If you are a locally stranded individual, you could be a foreign national or a Filipino who intends to return to your place of residence. You will need an identification card. If you are an authorized person outside of residence from the national government or attached agencies, you will need an identification card, a travel order, a travel itinerary, and you must also pass a screening of symptoms upon entry and exit. If you are traveling for medical reasons, you will need an identification card and a certificate from the local chief or the chief of the local government unit of your residence. If you're a person traveling for humanitarian reasons, you will need an identification card and a certification from the provincial government of your destination. And if you are traveling for tourism purposes, you have to specifically check with the local government unit for specific requirements. Also, all passengers will no longer be required to be tested unless required by the local government unit of your destination. Also, you will no longer be required to quarantine unless you show symptoms. Also, travel authority and health certificates will no longer be required. Also, other factors for domestic travel are: first, community quarantine levels. Please take note that the most lenient community quarantine level is the modified general community quarantine. Next, general community quarantine, and the other restrictive community quarantine are enhanced community quarantine and modified enhanced community quarantine. So please remember your current quarantine level in your destination and also where you are coming from, because there are restrictions. Another factor is your age. Also, another important factor is your vaccination status, and the next one will be the travel health protocols from the local government unit of your destination. If you are still confused, please remember to use the SPASS to determine if you are qualified to travel. Now, the latest resolution regarding domestic travel was issued on July 8, and it's resolution number 125 of the Interagency Task Force. So that resolution outlined the intra-zonal movement and interzonal movement of passengers, including senior citizens who are fully vaccinated. So let me explain the intra-zonal movement of fully vaccinated persons, including senior citizens. So that means you are allowed to travel within the same community quarantine level as long as the level is the modified general community quarantine and general community quarantine, because these are the most lax community quarantine levels. As long as you present either a vaccination card, whether issued locally or internationally, or a certificate of quarantine by the Bureau of Quarantine showing your vaccination status. Now, there is another type of movement, and this is the interzonal movement. So that means the community quarantine levels are not the same. For interzonal movement, a local government unit may accept a vaccination card duly issued by the local authority or international authority, or a quarantine certificate showing the vaccination status as an alternative to a negative RT-PCR test. So let me just give you a concrete example regarding the travel requirements. For example, you are traveling from Manila and you just arrived on an international flight, and your connecting flight is going to Cebu City. Now, what are the requirements? Now, Cebu City is under modified general community quarantine until July 31st. So here are the requirements. This is the requirement for Cebu City. Please take note, Cebu City is different from the Cebu province requirements. The travel permission is allowed, and please take note, you will be exempted from presenting a letter of coordination and quarantine or PCR test requirements if you are a transiting passenger in Manila, provided that you need to show your proof of origin, such as a boarding pass or a ticket, and or those originating passenger from Cebu City who are classified as authorized persons outside of residence. So passengers under the classification who cannot provide a letter of coordination will be accepted upon check-in and will need to call or coordinate with their barangays before boarding. Upon arrival in Mactan, Cebu Airport, passengers without a letter of coordination will need to approach the kiosk of the Cebu City LGU for validation and confirmation of acceptance. And if you're a passenger coming from an LGU with no RT-PCR test center, then you will need a certification from the LGU of origin stating unavailability of the test, along with a signed memorandum of undertaking by the traveler that he or she will undergo an RT-PCR test upon arrival, and you must present, once you arrive, the traveler must present a negative RT-PCR test result to the barangay within 3 days, and he or she can avail the test from any private DOH accredited molecular laboratory or Cebu City designated free swabbing centers upon presenting the travel coordination permit or SPASS. From this example, if you are a passenger from Manila going to Cebu City on tourism or non-essential purpose travel, here are the requirements. You will need a negative RT-PCR test, and the test must have been taken 3 days from the date of arrival. Also, you need to register through the SPASS and upload all the documents, and also you needed a travel coordination permit or travel through permit QR code. So in summary, the most important things to remember when you travel domestically is that first, you needed to register through the SPASS and confirm your travel permit, and at the same time, if the local government unit requires an RT-PCR test, you must take it within 3 days before arrival. Also, it will help a lot if you have your vaccination card ready or your quarantine certificate ready. Thank you guys for watching, and if you have any other questions or comments, please post them down below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Also, if you recently traveled in the Philippines, whether international or domestic, please share your travel experience. Again guys, thank you for supporting my channel, and if you like this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. I always welcome new subscribers. Again, thank you guys for watching. I hope everyone is staying safe and have a great day.